Hey gang, this is a theatrical tutorial today. Recently I designed the set for My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady takes place in Old London, and what better way to make things look like Old London is to have a lot of brick and to have a floor that looks like cobblestones. So I'm going to walk you through how I painted the floor to look like cobblestones, and this is a creative idea share.
This is a creative idea share that you can watch from there to help you be aware. You can even watch it in your underwear. A creative idea share.
Okay, so the first thing that I did was students and I painted the whole stage gray, just a light gray, and then after that you could find a lot of your earth tone junk paints and start spattering the floor with an awful lot of water. And you can see here that I've got tan, I've got black, I've got darker grays. All of this is going to become the aggregate that's going to be underneath the actual cobblestones themselves. But after this, once this all dries, this is very wet, once this all dries, I then spatter more just to make it look spotty like this. This is my stencil. I made a big stencil out of masonite. Masonite is an MDF product, and you can sort of freehand this, but you want to have something that has 4 rows. For me, it was 4 rows of cobblestones. And you can see that this has stood the test of time. This stencil is over 10 years old. So once you make one of these stencils, you can keep it in your panel storage and use it again and again. For the tighter corners, I've actually got a smaller stencil, and it looks like this. So where the big stencil won't fit, this stencil will. And again, too, it's just made out of masonite or MDF. So this stencil will produce this pattern on the stage. So how is that done? Well, the way I do it is I use a spray gun. And so I put a darker tone gray in my spray gun, and I just go to town. I add a little bit of water to my paint, giving the paint the consistency of whole milk. This will make the paint quality a little bit more translucent when you're spraying it onto your surface. So you may see through it a little bit, but that's okay because you've painted this aggregate first. But it really isn't too bad. The coverage is really pretty strong. Notice that most of the time I am spraying towards the center of the stencil. You don't want to get paint spray on the outside of your stencil. You want to be able to keep it on the inside. So most of the time I'm spraying towards the center. As you get going at this, you learn some tips, and then it becomes more knacky. But here we go. That's the finished product right there. Thumbs up. Now remember, I've used a lot of water in my spray, so once I lift up the stencil, I have cobblestones that are still pretty wet. While they are wet, I take a darker shade of gray and I like to shape the cobblestones. Basically, this is me just going around the border so that it looks a little lighter on the center of the cobblestone and a little bit darker on the edges of the cobblestone. I'm using a 1.5 inch angle sash brush to do this, and it's just extended with a bamboo stick. This way I don't have to bend over to paint. Why ruin your back? This is actually sort of a fun part for me. I like doing this. It really does add something to the bricks. And then later, once this dries, I'll go in and I'll add my highlights and shadows too. But here's the progress. So then once all of that is dried, now I can go in with my dark gray. Again, the consistency here is whole milk, and I start adding in my shadows. You want to make sure that the shadows all go on the same side, so you have to imagine where your light source is, and then the opposite side of the cobblestone gets the shadow. But those shadows really do make these cobblestones pop. And then this is the upper part of the set too. On the opposite side of the cobblestones, you might want to add some highlights. I tend to go pretty spare with this. I just do highlights on a couple cobblestones now and again. And usually for me, that's enough. So I'm doing it on this one. I'm doing it on an adjacent one. And notice how I don't have to round the corner with that. And then I start just picking random places where I want to have some highlights, because highlights, too many highlights can start making things look fake. And so you want to be careful where you put the highlights. So for me, it's something like this. I really do believe in floor treatments. So whether it's an interior wooden floor, or if it's a dirt ground outside, or if it's a cobblestone street like this, I believe that floor treatments really do tie everything together and they complete the picture. But that's how I paint a cobblestone floor.
So I hope that was helpful. If it was, think about giving this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. So long.